Okay, good morning, John. If you could just refresh people as to your role at Alternative Business Funding.
Yeah, sure. So I am Operations Manager here at Alternative Business Funding.
Okay.
Basically, look after the day-to-day operations of our platform, manage our customer journey, and predominantly at the moment keeping up with the funders' changing criterias and making sure that our platform is reflective of those.
So by now, everybody's heard of the government support packages that are out there, the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme and the bounce back loans. How have those affected the marketplace?
It's unsurprisingly the predominant products that SMEs are looking for. The coronavirus business interruption loan scheme has been around a little bit longer, and there was a lot of confusion around that. The eligibility criteria seems to be a key sort of challenge for that, and the timeline with the point of application through to getting a decision back from the accredited funders. The bounce back loan scheme seems to be very much the opposite. It is doing exactly what the Chancellor said it was going to do, which is a quick turnaround process, quick answers, and particularly getting the funds to the SMEs quickly too. There's been reports back of those that have applied in the morning and had the funds by early afternoon. So that really does seem to be doing the job, and that's reflective in the most recent figures that the British Business Bank have released. Where the bounce back loan scheme has got over £8 billion out the door in a very sort of short period of time. So that really does seem to be doing the job.
Excellent. Who's falling through the cracks in this, and where do we see people when they contact us? What kind of questions are they asking us?
I guess the main sort of part falling through the gaps is that eligibility criteria on the coronavirus business interruption loan scheme in particular. Anyone that's not limited, anybody that hasn't been trading for a particular period of time, and from the bounce back loan scheme, the ones that seem to be falling within the gaps are those that aren't banking with one of the major providers, because so many of the banks are only sort of taking applications from existing customers. That has been broadened out a bit now with some of the challenger banks coming on board, but there's still some notable names missing, like Metro Bank, and they've got a ever increasing customer base who don't have a direct line in. So that's really where sort of the people are falling through the gaps, as if they're unfortunate enough to be banking with a provider who's not accredited yet, although that list is ever increasing in terms of accredited providers.
And
Go on. I was just going to say, in terms of the other sort of the gap, I guess, is that because the bounce back loans are a simplified process and they're quick and they're easy, the limitation comes from there is that the amount that you can apply for is capped at 50,000. So the other common request that we're getting at the moment is someone might have needed 100,000, and instead of going down the CBIL route and the time it's taken there, they've gone down the bounce back loan route. They've got the 50,000, and now they're trying to find out how to raise the additional funds that they need, and because you can't have both, the two products are mutually exclusive. So if they've got their bounce back loan, it's now where they can get that other sort of say 50,000 from, and which of our sort of funders are still actively lending in the market.
And I guess that's really the most important question, which is what are the options for people who either fall outside of the business interruption loan scheme or the bounce back scheme, and that could be by the amount that they need or for other reasons. What options or what opportunities are there to get funding at the present time?
Yeah, definitely, and there are still options that are out there and available. It's difficult, certainly, and I certainly get a lot of feedback from the funders that it's difficult from their perspective. They're having conversations with people that had headline funding waived at them at 2.5% on the bounce back loan scheme, and if they're ineligible and they're now talking to a different provider, the APRs at a higher rate, and they're having to sort of explain sort of the reasons why on that. So there are still active funders there, but the number of active funders has certainly dropped, and it is certainly more difficult to get deals done away from the bounce back loan scheme and the CBIL scheme.
So I guess the bottom line, as far as individual business owners are concerned, is in getting in touch with a platform such as ABF, what value can we bring to them at this time?
Sure, and I guess from my side in particular, the most important element of my role is making sure that the platform is reflective of current lending criteria, and it's not just a question of whether they can lend to businesses that fit that profile, but actually are they still actively getting funds out the door? Do they have an ongoing application in with the British Business Bank for accreditation, and they're not actively lending whilst they're waiting for that to come through and hopefully become accredited onto the bounce back loan scheme or the CBILS scheme. So that's really where the platform adds value, is by saving that time from contacting individual funders, sort of finding out about their individual criteria, and having repeated conversations, and being able to assess their options in one place at one time in just a matter of minutes.
Okay, so the government schemes, obviously big players, but they're not the only game in town. There are alternatives, there are options for business owners, and so our recommendation would be use the platform, get the benefit out of it, make sure that you're current with all of the information, because we've got the up-to-date info that they need.
Definitely, and to revisit as well, we're constantly updating the platform. We're still adding new sort of providers on at the moment to sort of broaden out our funding panel, but also updating their criteria. Adding on those providers that are getting their accreditations through for the CBILS scheme. So even if they've registered and might not have been many options at that point in time, always worth revisiting, because it's constantly being refreshed and up to date, given the current snapshot of what's available to them.
Okay, John, thank you very much for your time.
No problem at all. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Perfect. Thanks.